welcome to the BinckBank Tour. You heard that right. And yes, it's around the same time as we usually have the Eneco Tour. New sponsor, same race, the BinckBank. It is from now on in, and stage one from Breda to Vernay, 169.8 kilometres with a double loop at the end. So those at the start-finish line essentially will have plenty of time to see the stars, and they have turned up. It's a firmament of which is full. It's quite remarkable what we're dealing with here. We have some of the world's greatest sprinters, if not the best of the crop, save for those who sadly at the moment are away with injury. It's traditionally a race that favours the fast men with a time trial, and then of course we head off to what is essentially the Ardennes Classics to finish off this magnificent race. The great and the good are here, some very, very good as well. Kennedy Haas and Freddie Backup busy seeing the family, as it were. A few sail-bys as well at the sign-on area. Mark Renshaw, hoping that his Team Dimension data can do something for the sprinters of Ryan Gibbons and Christian Baragli today. But with, as you've just seen, the likes of Groenewegen, Greipel, and indeed Marcel Kittel here as well, it's going to be a tough ask. There are, however, some youngsters who are on the rise. The aforementioned Groenewegen, of course. Don't count out Bauhaus. Eli Viviani is a man who's on the move, leaving Team Sky because he doesn't get enough sprint opportunities. Well, he's got one here with a decent lead-out train around him as well. Lotte Soudal starting amongst the favourites. And why not? They've got Craig van Avermaet. They've also got Jempi Drucker for the sprints. Indeed, as you can see, Quick Step floors are rack full of their own talent as well. Yves Lambert backing up Marcel Kittel and Max Richese. Belgian champion Olly Naes for AG2R Le Mondial. Be good for them, of course. Now he's off duties, protecting those around him and allowed to do so himself, that he actually does. Zet van Mark, you just seen for Cannondale Drapac as well. It is a spectacular field, racing as they do between the Netherlands and indeed Belgium. So it's an amalgamation, if you like, of the best bits of both nations in a tour. So it's not just to prove that it's not just about classics in this part of the world. Marcel Kittel can't even hang his bike up. There we go. Orica Scott are here with Simon Gerrans, Gero as road captain, but thinking today, I'm sure, about Magnus Cort Nielsen, and it's a sprint focus for Orica Scott. I don't think they're thinking about the overall. Jens Kirkelaar might argue with that, but Roger Kluger and the boys will be helping out. There's Tom Dumoulin. He's had a velodrome named after him. Peter Sagan's here as well. Gosh, I'm kind of running out of exclamation marks when you look at the field that have come along to the BinckBank. It is quite mind-blowing. It's a rack full of talent. Arnaud Demar apparently has cheered up and got himself out of the hospital bed. And so has Brian Smith. Brian, it's a pleasure to have you along. Now, you just move very, very gently. Brian's busy trying to deal with kidney stones at the moment, which are extraordinarily painful. This race, Brian, is a cracker.
It is, and it's glad to see it's got a new sponsor, and they've kind of mixed it up ever so slightly. They used to have the time trial right in the middle between the flat stages, the sprint stages, and then go on to the kind of hillier stages. But the time trial comes tomorrow, and today is going to be an exciting day. And they've brought back the golden mile as well, kilometre, sorry.
They have the golden kilo, and so the sprinters have time to put time in the bank, if you will. The golden kilometre comes at the end towards the end of the race. Today it's 23 kilometres from home. We've got a break of 4, by the way. These are pictures from a little bit earlier, so we'll be describing those for you in a moment. However, the golden kilometre is a great addition. It gives you a chance, Brian, to pick up 3, 2 and 1 bonus seconds at 3 sprints, which are racked together, all within 1 kilometre. And so it does favour the fast men, also the brave. Nicky Terpstra, defending champion. Tim Wellens, twice a winner. As Zdenek Zdibar, Lars Bohm. These are fast men that we're looking at here. Not necessarily time trialists, although Tony Martin, of course, is exactly that. Time trial shorter this year, Brian, so the sprinters have a little bit of give. Let's put it that way with this course.
Yeah, they do, and that's why the golden kilometre could make a difference. It's always a short time trial in this race. When we look at the race distances, the stage length, they're not overly difficult, but with a 9 kilometre time trial tomorrow, it could be interesting. But It's certainly not. In the past, it was predominantly a time trial rider that could climb that won this race, but now it's really opened up, and this actually could go down to the final day, the outcome of the overall winner.
There's a lot who would like to make amends after some disappointing moments within the Tour de France, I think it's fair to say, and this is their gift from Breda today, destination Venray. I always want to say Vernay, which is somewhere entirely different. But anyway, this is the course that we're dealing with, and there are the local laps that we will have at the end. There are 2 of them, so 3 times across the start-finish line. But you see that little badge, that little pale badge? It's not a beer mat. No, it's the Golden Kilometre, and we'll be there reasonably soon. We also have intermediate Primus sprints. This brings money, beer money to the teams, and why not? And we'll be there in about 21 kilometres time, in fact, precisely that. You're looking at our breakaway at the moment. 4 riders decided to go out and test the course. Laurens de Vries of Astana, Piet Allegaert from Sport Vlaanderen, Elmar Reinders from Roompot Nederlanden in the Tangerine, and Wanty Group Gobert's Mark McNally. They've all decided to have a crack, Brian.
Yeah, they have just a small breakaway today, and probably the most experienced is Laurens de Vries of Astana, 28-year-old Belgian rider. But nice to see Mark McNally in there, 28-year-old from Fazakerley, just outside of Liverpool. And if you can remember last year, he did well in a couple of stages, Carlton.
He did. He was runner-up on stage 6. I can't remember who won. Pivernick it was, yeah. And he was 5th on another, so a couple of top 5s in this race, so he's favoured for it, and the 28-year-old has decided to go out and put the hurt on. As you can see, Bora have decided to chase on, and this is because Peter Sagan, it's kind of built for him at the moment, and Peter Sagan is rebuilding his reputation in the minds of those who think that he was at fault. The old elbow gate, as it were, that took out Mark Cavendish, I'm afraid, and it ultimately took himself out of the Tour de France. Ever since then, he looks like he's slightly dialed back, Peter Sagan. Tour of Poland, yeah, of course, terrific, but has he lost a bit of the bite amongst the bile, let's put it that way, of that incident in the Tour, which I'm afraid meant the expulsion of Sagan and, of course, the hospitalisation of Mark Cavendish. Eli Viviani is a man who looks a little bit lost at the moment. Certainly did in London, sort of went out into the wind and then went backwards. He's on the move from Team Sky because, frankly, they are all about general classification when it comes to, of course, the major events. And Viviani's it's hard being a sprinter within Team Sky, Brian, and he's off.
It is, but he's been there a few years now. He's got a lot of success. He just missed out yesterday in the European Championships to Christoph, and what was a very exciting and dramatic finish. But Viviani, I think, he doesn't really need a lead out. He came into the Team Sky. He knew what he was dealing with, and I think got the best out of it he could. But you're right, let's say they look at the classics, they look at the overall, and one of the best teams in the world. But Viviani looks as if he's off and looking for pastures new and looking for new challenges and maybe some riders to help him.
As far as challenges are concerned, news today, by the way, that Alberto Contador has decided that the Vuelta this year will be his last race. Now, he's talked about retirement in the past, but this time I believe him.
Yeah, I think so. I think it was all he was delaying things until after the Tour de France. He tried in the Tour de France, it never worked. I was really impressed with the way the team Trek Segafredo rode a couple of stages in the Alps, especially the one over the Galibier. And it's just a pity that Contador couldn't finish it off. But then we got another great winner in Primož Roglic that day. But yeah, it just made the two of these individuals. Okay, he's had success in Grand Tours in the past, but I think when you've won so many Grand Tours like Contador, and you're not getting there in kind of recent years, it's very difficult to take. And I think it's probably more morale than anything else. The decision has been made.
When you talk about morale, I wonder whether that was part of the element to Marcel Kittel's withdrawal from the Tour de France. With Michael Matthews closing on him for the green jersey, was the pressure just too much? He was doing an awful lot of media work. I think fatigue, just general exhaustion after taking 5 stage wins, may well have done for Marcel Kittel. Everyone tries to find reasons for a withdrawal, but exhaustion should actually be a valid one, I think.
I was looking at that as well during the tour when I seen him. Myself and Jonathan would finish a show, and he was out talking to Le Monde afterwards, and I just thought it was a little bit too much. And you know, obviously, you don't often get the opportunity, and not many people do get to win 5 stages of Tour de France. So, although he was kind of milking it a little bit, but I think he learned a lot about himself. It's all about recovery, the Tour de France, and I don't think he recovered well enough. That crash came at the wrong time. He wasn't feeling good, and I'm not going to say he threw the towel in, but I think a lot was on his plate at the time. Everybody wanted a piece of him. He was doing really well, and I'm sure today he'll bounce back and try and win the stage for a Quick Step.
Xander Cordial has an onboard camera for you today. As you say, Brian, Quick Step, why not? And in fact, they're doing the work, as you can see. Bora, naturally for Peter Sagan, putting in plenty of turns and sharing the duty of the chase down, or at least holding the breakaway at under the 2-minute mark. For Marcel Kittel, so yeah, why not? Andre Greipel's also here. Everyone constantly seems to write off Andre Greipel, and then he just shoves those words straight back down their throat. Has he lost the edge? He was certainly fast finisher on the Champs-Élysées. Groenewegen took it, I think 10 metres too short, the distance on the day. Greipel bitterly disappointed, but then again, that was something reflected in a number of the stages during the Tour. It's been 7 years since he's actually failed to win a Grand Tour stage, a Grand Tour that he's contested, and he was a blank in terms of wins for the Tour de France, but he's still strong and can't be discounted today.
Of course, and he likes this race. He's won many stages of this race, although with a different sponsor. And I think Lotto Soudal will be backing him today. Again, he's that sort of rider that you can't discount. As soon as you discount him, he comes out and wins. But yeah, I got a chance to speak to him during the Tour. He said that Kittel was unbeatable. Okay, when he left the Tour, but I think it's, as well as having the experience, I think what Groenewegen did in the Champs-Élysées was exceptional. He took it from the front and he took it from a long way. Greipel wasn't in the best place, like you say. He just ran out of meters towards the end. He was coming up late, but I just think it was he was thinking he was in the perfect position. He was ready to take the sprint, and I think he underestimated how strong Groenewegen was in the Champs-Élysées in the last day.
And determined. I mean, some of the shoulder work and head work that he did to make space for himself off the Rue de Rivoli onto that final turn up the Champs-Élysées was something remarkable. And something that you don't really expect from a young man, and Groenewegen is exactly that. He's come to the fore now in a game that quite often experience counts for an awful lot when you are sprinting. And he's a man who has found his form and indeed his strength at the age of 24. It bodes for it. He could be around for 10 years, Brian, and possibly a little bit more. And having taken that win in the Tour de France, it's just a remarkable thing.
He won this first stage last year, a bit of a surprise, but we'll see.
Yeah, might be another one. Stay with us, back in a moment. Welcome back. It's a busy old time. Well, shoulder to the grindstone, why not? And Lotto Jumbo, of course. The aforementioned Dylan Groenewegen, we were talking about him just before the break. A man who's on stellar form at the moment. Finished third in the Netherlands Nationals road race as well. And for a sprinter, that's not bad, because it wasn't exactly a sprinter's course that day. However, his team are working hard for him. He's got Lars Bohm as part of his backup unit. He's got people like Bram Tankink as well, who can just kick a hole in the air. Rob Wagner and Gijs van Herk as well. It's a strong team. He'll be all right. Arnaud Demar's back as well, Brian, as we're going through the field for you, so you know who's involved for this week. Demar, not very well, and his team was sacrificed on the altar of his ambition, I'm afraid, in the Tour de France. Erroneously, I thought. What a strange thing to send the best players back to work with Arnaud Demar. They all got timed out.
Yeah, it was a strange move, and you know, as a sports director, what the time limit is, and if you're going to make it, if it's going to be close, and that was well outside, so they're under orders, and it's not for the first time that team has made some strange decisions as well, with Marc Mario, and I was really surprised that, you know, even Demar should have said, right, just go and leave me, and that's enough.
Yeah.
But I was surprised he finished. But unfortunately, he had teammates with him that you know, he dragged out the race as well and left them very depleted for the remainder of the race.
Winner Anacona from Movistar here. It's a good team, but it's not one, I don't think anyway, that's going to mix it, at least early on. Alex Dowsett is here for Movistar. It's a team where he's been a little uncomfortable within, I think it's fair to say, of late. Sort of ignored and often not taken along. But with the short time trial, I think he possibly could have done with a longer one. Some rolling stages as well to come. Watch out for Alex Dowsett. The principal declared here is Nuno Bico of Portugal. Indeed. Gorka Izagir, winner Alicona, as you've just seen, with Rory Sutherland and Sutton backing up. So let's talk about the course today, Brian. If everyone's wondering why we haven't said much about it, it's pretty flat. I know the Netherlands and the Low Countries are aptly named, but gosh, it couldn't be any flatter if they rode around a billiard table today.
Yeah, I think that's why they haven't issued a profile map, because it's just one straight line. We don't have the obviously the parkour, the hilly parkour today, but we certainly have an opportunity. We've got the golden kilometre just before the finish. We have 2 laps of the finishing loop, and even last year's stage very similar to this, and we had a nice sprint towards the end. But you know, when it's a kind of easier day like it is for majority of the riders in the peloton, it makes it for a fast and furious finish. We still just have over 50 kilometres to go. The gap has not been given to these 4 riders in front. De Vries of Astana just coming through, Ron Potts in the orange is Reinders, Allegard, a Neo-Pro for Sport Flandern in the white, and in the dark blue McNally from Wanty Group Goubert. So the 4 of them haven't got more than 2 minutes, and with 3 teams of Lotto NL, Jumbo, Bora, Hansgrohe and Quickstep Floors riding on the front for their sprinters, I think everybody knows it's going to come down to that sprint in the end. But I think McNally, ridden this race before, done well in this race. I think he'll be thinking of probably trying to take this Primus black jersey, the sprints competition.
I think he will. Primus, is it the Holiday Gas Company? I'm not quite sure. But anyway, it's the Primus Checkpoint Sprint. And in fact, it'll be first time across the finish line. So you're getting a preview of it right now, because they're only 11 kilometres. That's the breakaway, that is. A little bit further behind, in fact, 1:26 behind are the pack as you look at them right now. So we're coming into town. And as you can see, when you've got some flat land that you've reclaimed, you may as well just use it. And the shortest way from A to B is on a straight line, and that's precisely what we've got at the moment. This is Belgium, of course, and the Netherlands, where we are playing. It's the Netherlands today and indeed tomorrow for the time trial. Then it's into destination Ardoi for the sprint on stage 3. Another sprinter's day to Langen on stage 4. And then things start to roll back into the Netherlands, destination Zittau, for what is essentially the Amstel Gold Race day, that's stage 5. The Liège-Bastogne-Liège day is back in Belgium, that's stage 6. And then, of course, the Flanders day with Gerardsbergen, the destination for our finale next Sunday. Primus, by the way, is a beer. And I understand, don't you win your weight in beer? I think they do. Rather handily, 1 litre is exactly equal to 1 kilo. It's one of those little serendipitous, rather nice mathematical things that the burghers in charge of metrication decided to adopt on behalf of everybody that went metric. So a litre weighs 1 kilogram. So basically what they do is the winner of the Primus gets weighed, and you go, way, especially if you're a big lad, because you win more beer. There we are. I'd win a lot more beer than you, Brian, especially these days.
Yeah, but I would put some bidons in my jersey down the back.
I could just imagine Brian turning up with lead trousers if he was going to get weighed for that. But anyway,
I'd find a way of getting something. I'm a Scottish person after all.
Here we are. Well, it's a German person that is pushing on for us right now. Our German champion from Bora is indeed eating into the terrain. Quickstep, Lotto Jumbo, they're all playing today. And in fact, no surprise when you look at their lineup. For me, though, the best lead out is going to be for Magnus Cort Nielsen. He's got, and get this, he's got Jens Kerkelaer working for him, Mitch Docker, Alexander Edmondson, Michael Hepburn, Simon Gerrans, Roger Kluger, and then himself. I think Sam Bewley's allowed a day off today. But that is just remarkable in terms of a lead out. If Magnus Cort Nielsen doesn't deliver, then there'll be some grumbles and some bread buns thrown over the soup this evening. Sky have got Viviani, of course. Edward Toons, what about him with Trek Sagafredo? Yes, Stuyven, I think, is their chosen son overall, but why not Ted?
I think so. The two of them are there. He finished, I think he was 5th in the Euros yesterday.
Yep.
So he's obviously got some good form, but Stuyven, we know what he can do as well, very strong. But I think that team, I think Stuyven could be looking more for the overall victory.
Yep.
He is very good getting over some of the sharp climbs, and I think Stuyven is strong enough to look at that. And you know, looking at that team, they've got a strong team. Boy Van Poppel was starting to go well as well. I think it was Poland it was riding, and yeah, Magnus Cort Nielsen I think would be their favoured one for probably this sprint today.
It's interesting, Bahrain Merida and Movistar are just lurking there behind the quick men's teams, and they're the two teams where I haven't really highlighted a sprinter. All respect to Gregor Boller for Bahrain Merida, and indeed potentially on a long one someone like Rory Sutherland who could get a cheeky one, but for Movistar. But to be honest, they are looking overall. Right now, Ilio Kaiser, with his familiar form, is doing a lot of work. He's been busy this year. When not racing on the World Tour, he's been busy with the Napoleon Cup Series, which is a series in this part of the world as well, where they're all of a sudden extending the season beyond the classics, Brian, in order to include what is essentially a championship of baby classics.
Yes, there's a few things happening in cycling where they're trying to kind of group together some races. In the Napoleon Cup are grouping together races in Belgium. You've got the Coupe de France in France, funny enough, and then you've got the Flanders Classics. Not funny enough, all in Flanders, because they are looking outside of that, but majority of it is the Flanders Classics, the races in Flanders. But they are looking at other races, and yeah, it's a nice concept, and I know there's another group of people looking to do something maybe in a more international scale, where they're bringing races in from kind of different countries and having maybe some of the, as you say, the B races, bringing them into like a Napoleon Cup, like Flanders Classics, and having a kind of overall within it, different races throughout the year.
Yeah, so essentially you have a championship of these minor races, and I say minor, and it's no disrespect to them. I mean, races like the Samin are big news if you nail something like that. In fact, you get some real stars who are essentially just part of their program is to do something along those lines to build up for other races. And you know, I'm not demeaning those races at all, but they have a great place within the championship, I think.
If you put some good races in against maybe not so good races, the other races kind of are brought up to that level. So if it's kind of one organising committee, then it's kind of sponsorship throughout the whole series. Like the Flanders Classics have all kind of taken a step up. And I think anybody else looking at that, the smaller races, like you say, it adds a little bit of firepower to the platform that they've already got, and it just kind of helps them along the way, and it solidifies that event. Although it might not be a huge event now, and some of these events do struggle commercially. So if they're becoming part of a series, then they'll be helped. And a series of events, when you go to a sponsor, appeals to a sponsor more than maybe just one event. So instead of maybe 10 or 12 individual races and looking for their own sponsor, pull it all together, do the commercial rights across all of them, try and get them to TV. And it's not the only sport that looks at this. I know that other sports look at it, because you look at other televised sports, you think there's hardly anybody watching, why is it on television? Well, they've already got maybe a bigger event that they've put it all in as one kind of block. And yeah, there's obviously a lot behind it with commercial and TV rights and various other things.
Works for me. Working hard, Andrew Greipel just getting himself back in. Not sure what the technical issue is. Potentially, of course, as always, the dreaded puncture, but he's back in, looks comfortable. In fact, he didn't like the camera around him, which was quite good, so he gave us a sneer. We like that. 4 out front, in case you missed the top of the show. That was Piet Arigert, the 22-year-old, 17th in the Paris-Roubaix, by the way. So he's really getting a top 20 in events such as that is something special. He's here as team principal for Sport Vlaanderen. We have Almar Reinders in the orange up front of the break. He was 8th in the Dwars d'Or as well. De Vries from Astana and McNally from Wanty. Welcome back to the BinckBank Tour. It's the race that has retitled itself, but essentially over the years it has been known as the Eneco Tour. Well, BinckBank came in to ensure that this race lives on, and thank heaven for that, because it's a terrific one. Soon we'll be crossing the start-finish line with a couple of loops of 20.9 kilometres, incidentally. We have a sprint coming up. However, the one that really counts is the Golden Kilometre. It's 3 sprints, all with time bonuses, 3, 2 and 1, for those who are up the road. And I think the reason this gap is tumbling down right now to our breakaway of 4 men who've been up the road for much of the day is that the time bonuses that mean an awful lot to the sprinters are looming large. In fact, we're going to have to explain that all over again. Minute 9 to a breakaway of 4, and that's because we're on the approach to the start-finish line today. We have a Primus checkpoint sprint, and then a little later on we will have the Golden Kilometre. Now, it's all part of a loop that we'll be doing twice. So we're going to cross the finish line 3 times today. The first time we will have our Primus sprint just after it, about 4 kilometres after, by the way. So we cross the start-finish line, then we have our Primus sprint, which these guys are likely to contest. However, the Golden Kilometre itself is far more important, because it's 3 sprints locked into 1 kilometre, and I think this has a place in races beyond this event, formerly the Eneco, now the BinckBank Tour, of course. Yes, it's 3, 2 and 1 seconds available 3 times, all within a Golden Kilometre. So essentially, you are living the dream, as Lotto would say here, if you're a sprinter. So the gap, I'm afraid, to our break has tumbled. It's now down to just 1 minute and 4, and indeed that is the Golden Kilometre that we'll be doing. It counts next time by. So in 20 kilometres time, this is going to be hell for leather. You will suddenly start your the Limburg Live 1 kilometre Golden Kilo, so 9 seconds up for grabs, plus 10 seconds bonus at the line if you go on to win it as a sprinter. So the sprinters will essentially, I think, be extremely busy. It all bodes for a very, very lively finale to what otherwise would have been a quiet day. It's a great idea, Brian. Yeah,
very much looks like that. I know it hasn't changed the overall victory in the last few editions that the Golden Kilometre has been involved, but it makes it, I think, the first few days of this tour a little bit more exciting. Otherwise, a lot of these riders will just be waiting for the finish, so we do get a little bit of action with this Golden Kilometre. So it is added interest, but I'm not too sure that the peloton really want to bring these 4 riders back. I don't think they want to get involved with the Golden Kilometre, because, as you say, it pulls into play a lot more of the sprinters who are looking at taking the leader's jersey in this race when we get to the finish. So these 4 riders are coming up to the first passage of the line, and that's De Vries at the back for Astana. At the front there you've got Alligard for Sport Vlaanderen, the 22-year-old Belgian Neo-Pro, as Carlton says, finished 17th this year in Paris-Roubaix. Reinders for Rompot in the orange, and our very own Mark McNally from Wanty Group Gobert, the 28-year-old Brit.
Reinders got a fantastic top 10 finish as well. Our friend from Rompot here, it looks like he's going to come across the start-finish line here today. First, there we are. And so we'll see that on 2 more occasions. No points for that one, but any moment now we're going to have our Primus checkpoint sprint. Primus being beer. Yes, I thought it was camping gas, but apparently that's another company. So this one, you don't get a bottle of gas. You get, apparently, your weight in Primus beer, which is well worth going for, particularly if you're me. Meanwhile, further back, just about a minute adrift, they are powering into this one. Now, this is Bora Hansgrohe with with Marcus Burkhardt working hard today, along with Finkson and Andreas Schillinger. Rudiger Zelig, they're having fun, all on behalf of Peter Sagan, who is going to be busy at the end of today. He may well, I believe, anyway, have a go at this golden kilo, because I think they may well just have a go at the breakaway in time for that and then carry it home, because the golden kilometre is 23 k's out. I guess if Brian was to be absolutely nailed on correct, if it was about 28 k's out, I think they would let them go. That's just about on the cusp of when they would like to be there. There's the cat and mouse amusement arcade. I don't find these things terribly amusing at all, especially when you've got a near-death experience as I've had in Blackpool. But anyway, good job I could grip. But anyway, big lad in a small cage. It's not a funny thing. So we have, I hope we're not going to miss it, our Primus checkpoint sprint is coming up. This is an entirely separate competition with no time bonuses, which allows a breakaway to have some fun out there. And I hope we're going to get up to the front and actually see it, as opposed to these people being rather ill.
Fun and games, this race.
You know, if they've got any spare change there, they're not going to have any spare change in a moment. Look at that. Is that your idea of fun, Brian? Not in your current state, obviously.
Well, it might help, actually.
Brian's carrying a kidney stone. It's about the size of a boulder. Apparently, last night's attempted operation failed due to the size of it. Any idea of scale?
No, I didn't ask.
Do you know what? We've actually been through the Primus sprint while they were busy messing around.
No, it comes at
oh, beg your pardon.
37.4 to go.
Thank you. You were scribbling. I should have noticed. So we've actually got 3 k's to go. We're not in danger. Did they give you a scale on your rock?
No, they didn't.
Here we go. AG2 Le Mondial. AG2 Le Mondial decide to mix it up. They're not happy with the sprinters just having their own fun, and so they're going to cause this, which is a display of ambition, Brian, for those who are looking further down the line, and the response is automatic from the sprinters teams. They can't afford to let this go away.
Yeah, it's getting interesting. The sprinters teams have brought this down, and now we get AG2R going on the attack, and you know, with the likes of Jan Bakelans there, the Belgian at the front. So it's getting interesting. 43 seconds, and like you said, one of the teams that hasn't come with an out-and-out sprinter. I'm pretty sure that Oliver Naesen, the Belgian champion, would be interested in doing something. So yeah, just when we thought that the peloton were just sitting there nicely, I think Kajsa was even a little bit surprised there. He looked behind and said, "What are you guys doing?" And up to tempo, and now we see the peloton on one long line, and this doesn't really bode well for the riders in front now, because this gap will come down, and we are going to see a golden kilometre possibly fought out by the peloton.
Thank you. As predicted by moi.
Yes,
and dismissed by you.
Yes,
yeah,
I never thought AG2R would do this.
Well, Rudy Barbier fancies it. He wants to build up some extra bonus seconds in the intermediate. I think that's the point. There are some very, very good sprinters here, Brian, that are not necessarily top draw. Okay, we've got the absolute top draw here with Marcel Kittel, Andre Greipel. We've got Viviani. We've got Arnaud Demar, of course, who's looking a little bit chipper in the French tricolour as well. We've got other very quick men, of course, Dylan Groenewegen. I don't even mean to say the word other when I say his name. Peter Sagan, Edward Tones, Phil Bauhaus. But then you start to factor in the likes of Jens Kerkelaer, Magnus Cort Nielsen, Minali, Gardini, Dupont, De Haas, Van Lerbeck, who's been going brilliantly this season, Rudy Barbier, the aforementioned. That was what that was all about. Jan Bakeland said, "Come on then, Rudy, let's make this a rude one, shall we?" And the sprinters teams fight back. The gap, though, is down to 36 seconds. So we will have a Primus intermediate sprint, but I think by the golden kilometre, somebody's going to be tempted amongst those fast men. They want to put something in the bank, Brian, and it's easy money, or easy time if you like, if the main sprinters teams don't follow you on. They're forced to do so.
Yeah, but look at the AG2R now. Philip Gilbert just going, "Oh, no," talking to Bakelans. They don't like this. A call out to all the sprinters from the sports directors there was like, you might have to come up to the front, you might have to sprint, and a few of them went, no. So I think this gap may extend after this Primus sprint. I'm not too sure that the peloton really wants these back, of the majority of peloton apart from AG2R.
Yeah. Well, you just wait. I think Team Orica Scott might have a dig as well. So they pick it up. This is for the Primus Intermediate. We're about 500 metres away. according to my GPS. But then again, you never know where the barrier man is going to...
There's the flags.
I realise that, but I don't think that's 500 metres. That's what I'm trying to say. Well, it's 400 now. Anyway, they're winding it up, having a crack. De Vries looks most lively. He goes over the top. Reinders can't respond in the orange here, and it looks like a duke out between Alligaert out front. Not to be discounted. Mark McNally starts to get engaged as well. In fact, they're all
blanket
in a line. Fantastic. Great effort. Primus Sprint not quite there, just in time. It's Alligaert who gets there. Well, we said he was strong. 17th in Paris-Roubaix. He's 22 years of age. He's old enough to drink beer. And now he's won some. That
was nice sprint because he went in the inside there. We're going to see it again. De Vries tries to come over on him, impose a little bit, but the door was still open. He came in the insides. Looks like McNally just got second there with the on-pot rider Reiners getting thirds, and the rider that went first, De Vries, ended up in fourth. Yep, he did. In fact, he tried to close one door and opened up another. So we tried to shut down Alligaert on his left. In fact, it was ours as well in that rear view. Oh gosh, there's a bit of a stare down going on right now. De Vries then, I'm afraid, grabbed at the dry sand and it all just ran between his fingers. Oh, look at that, Carlton have set up. How dare they? This is our own Who Buys the Sandwich competition going on right now. And so there it is. I thought it was tablet. Ah, yes. Thank you so much. I've got to just check who it was that sent me the tablet. We got it today as we came along. It was sent onwards to us by Eurosport. Thank you very much. Scottish tablet. We have really enjoyed chomping on that. It's a mixture. It's a bit fudge-like, but essentially. It's not fudge, it's Scottish tablet. It's not fudge. Okay, there you go, Brian. Just like I butchered the name from outside Liverpool. What was it called? Fazakerley. Yeah. Yeah. Fazakerley. It sounds like exactly. I've never been banned from that town. And what did you call it? I'm not saying it. Fazakerley. I think you did. A curly phaser was one that didn't work in Star Trek. But Fazakerley is where Mark McNally is from Wanty Group Robert in Scousland, where, of course, all my blood comes from. There we are. 35.8 kilometres, and you're right, Brian, it's extended very, very slightly, but I think there's some cheeky chaps here who would like to get involved if it comes down to that golden kilo. We'll see, because we've got... don't want to play. It's too early for them. Yeah, exactly, but I think some of the lesser sprinters do want to play. That's the point. Told off. Well, there are other punishments. 52 seconds then. It is the gap from the main body of the peloton at the moment, which looks on lockdown mode, I must admit, and those out front, so it looks like it's going to spin out to more than a minute. Let's give them a minute and a half, shall we, before the charge down happens yet again. The golden kilo comes up in about 12 kilometres time, so we're going to take ourselves a break, and we will be back with you here on the BinckBank Tour after this. The gap has gone up to a minute and 14. Welcome, by the way, everyone around the planet. Emma's back. She says, nice to hear you on Eurosport Australia. We love Eurosport Australia, and we like to be on Eurosport Australia whenever we can. And Emma is delighted to hear us, Brian, from down under. So she's set her alarm, bless her. I mean, look at the time. Get to bed, Emma, for goodness sake. Well, actually, don't. Stay here. You've only got 33.5 Ks to go, but we're spreading the love, Brian. Yeah, I don't mind. I had some problems down under, but I hope they get sorted soon. You know, Brian's going to find a way to talk about his kidney stone any time he possibly can today. You might hear it. Yep, he's absolutely right, though. Minute and 22, so the gap's more than doubled at the moment, and it looks like he might be right. It looks like I'm Brian the Primus Sandwich. Just going to welcome our entire Eurosport family together. Well, it's a lonely break that's decided to make themselves a bit more lonely. In fact, it's at the behest of the peloton, who, as Brian predicted, have said, what's all this nonsense from AG Tour Le Mondial? Pack it in. They've been under a lot of pressure to behave themselves.
In other words, leave it to the primary sprinters at the end of the day. We'll see whether anyone else makes a break for it today. I'm thinking someone like Dimension Data. They're up towards the front. They've got Mark Renshaw and Tyler Farrar there as a good engine room. And I think Ryan Gibbons and Christian Zbaragli may well be a bit of a choice for them today. We'll see. That's Matthias Brandley, who can time trial a bit, but Edward Toons is their man, I think, today, despite the ambitions of Jesper Stuyven. There's a lot of bonuses in this race, Brian, and that's what keeps it fascinating.
It does, especially for the first few days, and we get an opportunity to see maybe a surprise person in the yellow jersey, and not the yellow jersey, the leader's jersey, for the first time, and it's happened in the Eneco in the past. We've had one of the second division teams hold the leader's jersey, courtesy of the bonus sprints. And yeah, it's interesting over the next few days, but once we get into the hills in the last 3 stages, I don't think the bonus sprints come into play. But with a 9-kilometre time trial this year, it might happen.
Just looking at Team Katusha, Tony Martin, who's won this race in the past, when we had longer time trials, by the way. Our time trial this year is tomorrow. And last year, when it was named the Eneco Tour, BinckBank this year, as it will be for a number of years to come, hopefully. There was a team time trial last year in preparation for the Olympics, so it drew a lot of teams who were basically practicing for Rio and enjoyed themselves. However, they've stripped out the team time trial and they've reduced the individual time trial. Now, to me, that acts against Marcel Kittel, who started off at the top of this race at 400 to 1. So you couldn't get more of a rank outsider. However, they've dialed down some of the climbs as well, and Marcel Kittel can time trial. So he's not going to lose too much time, I don't think, in tomorrow's 9-kilometre time trial. And he might be better than a lot of people think. And if his little shoulders are back where they should be, as in not drooping after the Tour de France, where he was in for the green jersey competition, but in my opinion, it was sheer exhaustion that took him out of it, having taken 5 stage wins. He's back, and this morning, despite the fact he could not rack his bike and was like wandering around trying to find a place for the back wheel at the sign-on, he seems in good spirits. And in fact, both he and the other great Germans who are here, Tony Martin, who's mustering at the front at the moment, by the way, and Andrew Greipel, may well have a bit of a party together. We'll see. What about Katusha today? Tony Martin, he's just moved over to the left-hand side of the road. Baptiste Plancart, going to be working for?
I'm not too sure. I think today's sprinter either could be Baptiste Planfort or a lead-out man for normally Christoph is Rick Zabel, potentially. Over the last few years, this stage has been very messy in the first sprints, so I think today will be exactly the same. We've got so many good sprinters here, and we know some riders have come from the European Championships yesterday, some riders have come from Poland. We might see a surprise, and I think maybe Dimension Data with Ryan Gibbons is a not bad shout, because if you can remember last year, it was a bit of a surprise that Dylan Groenewegen won the stage and beat so many other top sprinters, and I think that was his kind of breakthrough, especially wearing the Dutch Champs jersey. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out, but we could see some interesting riders getting up there in the sprint.
Ryan Gibbons had a great London as well, looked very, very strong. Could be your man.
Yeah, I think outsider-wise for sure, but when you mix in the other riders that have got really forming a point to prove, including Demar, Groenewegen would want to win again, Kittel, they've put their team on the front. Okay, they've knocked it off a little bit because the gap came down to about 36 seconds, and then it was decided that it was too close, and now it's a waiting game, and who's going to take it up? And I think the 3 teams that were taken up early were Lotto NL for Groenewegen, Bora Hansgrohe for Sagan, and Quick Step Floors for Kittel. They are just sitting back at the moment and waiting for other teams to try and take it up, and they're just vying for position and road space at the moment. Nobody's actually riding behind because this gap is creeping up even more.
What's remarkable is that they're staring each other down at the moment. Orica Scott have gone over to the right-hand side of the road as we look at our breakaway here. They've gone over to the right-hand side of the road. Team Katusha with Tony Martin, Plantcut and the aforementioned Rick Zabel have gone over to the left-hand side of the road. Dead centre, AEG Tour de Mondial, and here we are. Arnaud Demar has brought up Francis Dejeux as well, and there indeed is the French tricolore at the back of that line of talent as you look at it right now.
It's Kaiser. Kaiser's come to the front and gone, come on, I want to start riding again. Come on, sit in my wheel. No, seriously, sit in my wheel. Come on. Okay, I'll slow up a bit, but sit in my wheel. I want to lead you. I want to ride on the front. I want to bring this back for my sprinter Kittel. But nobody wants to play just yet.
It's hilarious. So there's mind games going on out there. There's a lot of teams who are getting themselves in a position to mark out any moves, Brian, which is why you've got colour order and lead-out trains right there, so that if they do wind in this breakaway, they're in a position to go for the kilo. Look at them. It's as if we're already coming into town.
Yeah, you can see the team cars trying to get past the peloton to go up and serve the riders for the last time. And you get a lot of riders towards the back thinking, I tell you what, sprinters, have your day, right? Have your day, because the hills come towards the end of this race, and then it'll be reversal of roles. So there's a lot of the kind of climbing type riders sitting down the back. All the sprinting types are up towards the front, staring each other out. Kaiser's bossing them all, saying, sit in my wheel, I'll drag these 4 riders back for you. It's hilarious.
I'm looking at the conversation that's going on. There's Tony Martin as well, just behind Kaiser. Kaiser's on the radio. Where the heck are you? Trek Segafredo for Edward Toons coming in. This is fantastic. We have got such a busy race, all because they may not race for the golden kilo, but the reason it's so animated, Brian, is exactly because of it. They've all got to be very watchful of those around them, that nobody does an AG2 Le Mondial, as we saw a short while ago, trims off the front and decides to box it out for some bonus seconds.
Yeah, there's a try there by AG2R, but it came to nothing. A few shouts from the other riders, and they didn't want to box around this golden kilometre. The 4 riders in front will battle that out and get some bonus seconds. If they can time trial well tomorrow, who knows, they might stand a chance of a leader's jersey. It has happened in the past, but just when it looks so kind of animated in front, it looks so easy at the back of the bunch here, as we start to get a little bit closer to this golden kilometre, and we'll be on it in the next few kilometres.
Yeah. In fact, in 2.8. Passage Bodnar of Bora, just keeping up the back end, as you can see, out of the saddle, and indeed pushing on today. It's that intermediate. I'm sad that it's not actually going to be duked out, but by the main players here. In fact, there'll be no bonus seconds left for the golden kilo today, by the looks of things, and it's going to be between this quartet. If they finish strongly, and frankly they've got some very strong riders here, this is going to bode very well for the likes of Elmar Reinders, just 25 years of age, Piet Alligard, just 22 years of age. They're finding themselves in elevated company, and indeed will be high up on the ranking at the end of today, which bodes well for the likes of Sport Vlader and Roompot, and indeed Wanty Group Gobert with Mark McNally, not forgetting Astan's Lawrence de Vries, who's on the front of this quartet at the moment. McNally just behind him in the navy blue with the green caplets on his sleeve, the orange of Elmar Reinders, and then the youngster of the group, Piet Alligard, who I think is looking very, very good. He was the man we were telling you about who got himself a solid top 20 in the Paris-Roubaix, 17th he was. So as the classics races start to reveal themselves at the end of this race, he's going to be very well placed. It shows, Brian, that being in a breakaway can pay dividends. We've got some riders here who will be very much concerned about this golden kilometre, and indeed embedding themselves at the top of the order by the end of the day. They could keep up, and indeed later on I'm talking about when the time gaps are imposed or not. If they finish amongst the leaders, they're going to be very well placed and thinking about a breakaway tomorrow as well.
Yeah, tomorrow I think it'll be doubtful of a breakaway in the time trial.
Stage 3.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see that. Yes.
Sorry, forgive me. Yeah, exactly. but you never know. They might.
You've been taking my morphine.
Do you know what? You don't share that. That's probably a good thing. Yes, individual time trial, forgive me, tomorrow, 9 kilometres in length. And then, of course, we ride on deeper into this race with 2 more sprinters' days. One to Ardouille, so keeping it in Belgium, or back in Belgium. And then Lanigan, the Lanigan Loop. That sounds like a dance. Of 154 kilometres for stage 4. And then it goes Amstel Gold, Liège-Bastogne-Liège and Flanders to finish off. And it will finish a few off. These guys, though, well and truly alive.
Yeah, number 1 coming up here for the Golden Kilometre.
So the Golden Kilo starts at 23.4 kilometres out, but it looks like they may well. So there it is. There's the finish line for the first. So 3, 2 and 1 bonus seconds. They're going to get lively. Now, there are ways of handling this. Do you power all the way through? Do you continue your sprint, or do you have 3 separate sprints, Brian? What's your strategy?
Well, what we've seen in the past is they've sprinted kind of flat out for the first one. Second one, they've been a little bit more tired, and then by the end, it's who's got the strength left. But so it does look as if they might have decided to kind of share these out. So De Vries is taking the first one here.
Oh, come on, fellas. Well, this may well be a bit mugging job by Piet Allegard. Now, if he goes through the next one, he's then got to sustain it for, what, 350 metres to take 2. Is he going to get greedy? First one has gone to Laurens de Vries. Now, he was the man who got mugged at the Primus checkpoint, which doesn't count for time. So he's just picked up 3 seconds. 2 seconds has gone to Wanty's Mark McNally. And indeed, Reinders just behind picked up the 1, so no seconds at all for Pierre Allegard, who took the Primus a little bit earlier on. He's having a toot at the moment. That looks like an air bridge too far for some. Oh, I think they may have laid it down at an angle for the helicopter.
No, they're swapping. De Vries is taking all these points. He's probably one of the best time trialling, and he's been set to the front to make the effort, so he'll get all 9 seconds. McNally and Reinders are swapping second and third between them. I don't really think Allegard is too interested in taking any bonus seconds, so they're kind of swapping it for second and third place, but the win is all going to De Vries with 9 seconds.
Brian, I'm mildly disappointed.
Oh, well, that's what happens. You put in is something like that in a race, and people get smart to it. And why should they bother attacking each other? They've got 1:37 with just over 20 kilometres to go.
Yeah,
that was a big effort to De Vries. Now they go full gas and try and see if they can make it to the finish now.
Let's see if they do. Welcome back. Our breakaway have just passed over the start-finish line for the second time. And in fact, they've just heard the bell. On the approach, as you can see, with just 20 kilometres to go, are the pack at the moment, and they've got a bit animated. And the reason is that our friends in the breakaway kept something in the legs. They didn't contest overly the Golden Kilometre. In fact, they formed themselves into a team time trialling unit, albeit down to 4 members, and they're off. Minute and 25, and it's set off mild alarm bells, as you can see, amongst the sprinters. So with just under 20 kilometres to go, crossing the start-finish line for the final time before the finish, so the penultimate time then. There we are, the bell rings upon the peloton. Everybody has passed by the start-finish line for the penultimate time. We've just heard the bell. The breakaway did not contest the Golden Kilo. They shared it out. And in fact, the man who took the lion's share out there was Astena's Laurens de Vries. They then had a little bit of swapping of bonuses with Mark McNally and Almo Reinders coming through to take enhanced seconds at the 2 final elements of that 3-phase Golden Kilometre. Hope I explained that well. Meanwhile, there is the none too small matter of the Primus checkpoint sprint. The man who didn't take bonus seconds out there was the youngster Piet Allegard, because the Primus checkpoint sprint gets beer. It's sponsored by Primus, and he's 22 years of age and he wants a party. So I expect he may well be taking the Primus sprint. However, we are teeing ourselves up for one hell of a sprint finale with the likes of Kittel, Greipel, Damar, Viviani, Sagan, Drucker, Groenewegen, Bauhaus, Gardini, Kerkelaer, Barbier, Van Lerberger. I could go on. it is a whole raft of sprint talent that's about to do its stuff for us, Brian.
There is, and you know, it was nice to see the breakaway communicate with each other, and obviously Mark McNally speaking a little bit of Dutch now, and you know, obviously two Belgians in the break, Dutch kind of common language and things like that, and they've kind of sorted this out that they wouldn't, they would fight for maybe the first Primus sprint, which they did. They know the ranking order. And then they kind of shared out the bonus sprints. They know by the end of the Eneco Tour it's not going to make any difference. None of them outstanding time trialists, so I very much doubt that they would be looking to take their bonuses into tomorrow and try and take the jersey. So instead of racing each other, and they could have lost 30-40 seconds saving their energy sprinting against each other, what they've decided to do was, and quite intelligently as well, that they wouldn't waste any energy on any of these sprints. They would try and race towards the finish and foil these sprinters teams, and that's why the sprinters teams have had to up their game and really start to race these guys down.
Yep, Brian Smith with the voice of strategy, in fact was indeed the coach, of course, for us during both the Giro and the Tour de France here on your home of cycling, Eurosport. 18.4 kilometres then from home, minute and 15. They're doing a good job of hanging out there, but hanging I think they will be fairly soon. We've got our second Primus sprint coming up in about 1200 metres time. In fact, they've placed the barriers rather well, conveniently here. If I had to guess, I'd say that Piet Aliguer is going to be going through to get that Primus sprint. Doesn't carry any bonus seconds, but it's a separate competition. The black jersey competition looks quite shishi, to be honest. But yes, we're throwing our minds further down the road here to the grand finale. Wendy Superfan, who's dialed in from Taz. Hello, Wendy. She says they'll all be working for Magnus Cort Nielsen, Ulrika Scott, that is. And you're right, Wendy, and they've got one heck of a lead-out train as well. What about Team Emirates? What can Ben Swift do today, and Marco Kumfo Gardini?
Yes, Gardini, I've not seen what he's been up to, but Swifty is certainly on some form. I think it's always going to be difficult against the top sprinters. You've got to remember Kittle's here, and you know, this is a big race for Quick Step Floors. You see that they're piling in with Team Dimension Data at the front of the peloton, keeping well out of trouble. But with so many good sprinters, I don't know who they're going to go for. I think this would be a sprint for Gardini today.
Here we go, Primus sprint going off, and it looks like Roompot, and Elmar Reinders wants the beer. But does he want it as much as the youngster Piet Aliguer? And the answer is possibly no. So Piet takes it, and he'll be in a black jersey tomorrow. Job done by the youngster, 22 years of age.
Yeah, this is a competition they can win, and that's why they're sprinting for it. And but the golden kilometre, I don't think it's benefiting anybody, so they decided to keep it together. But this was a long one from the Roompot rider Reinders, but the Neo Pro from Sport Vlaanderen, Aliguer, takes maximum points, and he'll be in that black jersey tomorrow.
Yep, he will. Good for him. Well, we said it's beer money as well. You get weighed and they give you your weight in beer. Minute and 4 and 2, and indeed that clock coming down, is it? No, just bouncing around that at the moment with 16.4 to go. Sprinters team's getting themselves into shape. There are 2 roundabouts only. That's about the only thing that is out there to disturb them on the approach. It's a pretty arrow straight road, more or less all the way in from about 6Ks out, Brian.
It is, you know, they've had a chance twice already to see the run in towards the finishing. Just see the blue jerseys of Quick Step, Kitto up towards the front, Mark Renshaw looking after Reinhard van Rensburg, and the South African champion has got the other South African on his wheel, thinking of the sprint finish here, and that's Ryan Gibbons.
We'll see. So Ryan Rensburg will be doing some work either for Gibbons or for Christian Sbaragli. I think it's Gibbons would be the choice today. What do you reckon?
In this type of sprint, I think Christian, maybe a little bit of a hillier sprint would suit him better, and he will have opportunities later in this race.
We'll see. Sky starting to muster, as you can see. This is for Eli Viviani. Their lead-outs today will be Vinyovsky, old Lukash himself, with Owen Dool and John Dibben. The strong pairing, Dool and Dibben, who entertain us royally when it comes to track racing as well. Well, they're here as part of the engine room, and in fact Sky's starting to make a break for space at the moment. Viviani went very, very early in London. In fact, got himself out into the centre of the road, into the wind, and faded, I think, rather too quickly for his own liking. Timing probably going to be a little bit better today, but he's got a lot of rivals out here that want to do well. This is sterling work that's being done by all of the quick men's teams, and Orica Scott over to the right-hand side of the road, left-hand side of your picture, are amongst them, to say the least. In fact, I think they've got the best lead-out train, possibly bar Andre Greipel. Can Greipel use it today, though? That's the big question, with Jesper de Bois, Nico Mace, Marcel Ziberg, all working for him hard, but, well, quick-step floors as well, with Max Richese, superstar lead-out for Kittel. And if you're looking for superstar lead-outs, what about Jacopo Ganieri for Arnaud Demar of Francis de Jeux? Watch out for the Bleu, Blanc et Rouge. And in fact, there is Demar almost immediately showing his French champion's colours to us. Hard to pick, Brian.
It is. Just got a glimpse of Ryan Mullen, the Irish champion, up towards the front doing his job for Cannondale on his birthday. After finishing third in the European time trial just last week, so nice to see him doing that. But looking at Team Sky, you just mentioned there, they've also got Danny Van Poppel, who won a stage of Poland, and I think this sprint probably suits him a little bit better. He already had the better of Sagan there, so Danny Van Poppel might be an opportunity. Maybe, I think Danny Van Poppel, if I was Team Sky, would look at that option. In this type of finish, maybe Viviani could be thrown in the mix. Maybe they could go with a two-pronged attack, but because I think Danny Van Poppel would be the better of the two.
48 seconds, breakaway still hold, let's not forget. These guys can't afford to ease back on the pace. We've just seen Kittel there, mouth agape, looking like he's got the usual nerves at this time. He usually delivers, though, with a burst of emotion afterwards. Did it 5 times at the Tour de France, we remind you. We're going to take our final commercial break right now on this long straight approach with 13.1 to go. Welcome back. Just looking at Miles Scottson here. We're working for BMC. Jeppe Drucker for them today. Greg van Avermaet later on in this race. 39 seconds then, our gap to our breakaway from a motivated pack right now, but with just 11.5 kilometres to go, we have to start thinking as who is going to take the day today. Will there be any surprises? Possibly not. Brian, who are you going for?
I think with the amount of work they put in already, quick step floors, I would have to go for Marcel Kittel to bounce back after the Tour de France.
I think that's probably possibly a nailed on, just for the sake of keeping it balanced. I'm going to go for Peter Sagan because I think it's going to be rough out there.
Zigga, yeah, it will be.
Zigga zaga. So yes, I think it will get rough out there today. Despite the fact it's a straight road, quite often that draws a lot of ambition. When you've got a lot of road to play with, Brian, and it doesn't move around that much, after in about 4 kilometres time we'll have done with roundabouts, all of a sudden there's a lot of road space to play with. It can get dangerous.
It can do, and it has done in the past in this race, and there's been a few thrills and spills, but especially in the first stage. But I think today will be okay, but these 4 riders just hanging on to a slender advantage now, 24 seconds. They did have a tactic, but it hasn't worked because the sprinters were cute to that and have upped the tempo.
24 seconds only, our breakaway advantage over the pack, and look at them, they're mobbed across the road. Both Brian and I think Marcel Kittel is the man today, but I'm letting Brian have that dib. I'm going for Peter Sagan because I think it'll get rough. Why? Because it's not a very technical finish today, and so to my mind that means plenty of options for all of the teams, and you can see them racked colour order. You can barely see any of the asphalt underneath these guys because frankly there's no room. And when there's no room and a lot of road to play with, that means we're all close together, and that means touches of wheels. You saw it in the Europeans. I think we may well have the same problem here today. So bike handling skills to the fore. So I'm going for Sagan, although Marcel Kittel the bounce back after the Tour de France. Brian says it's going to be today, and I think he may well be right. No disrespect to the other amazing sprinters that we've got here. And look at it, 9.5 kilometres to go, and the approach pace is at its highest. These guys, I'm afraid, all credit to them, Brian. They've performed well today, particularly for the invitee teams, non-World Tour teams, who 3 of whom are represented here. They've done their job.
Yeah, they have, and that's what their sponsors will be happy with. McNally just at front there for Wanty Group Goubert. And then you've got De Vries, the only World Tour represented in the 4 riders in front, and he's picked up 9 seconds today. If he can do a good time trial, who knows what can happen later in this race. Reinders and Allegaar both have done well, and you know, for the likes of Sport Vlaanderen and Romport Wanty, this is sort of race that gives a lot of publicity for the teams.
Just under 9 kilometres to go, a couple of roundabouts to deal with. You're looking at the head of the race right now. They're holding 21 seconds, but really this is at the behest of the sprinters' teams. Interesting that the yellow, or the gold and black of Lotto Jumbo starting to get themselves into position for Dylan Groenewegen, who's on something of a high, especially after, of course, the great work he did up the Champs-Élysées to take the final stage of the Tour de France. Andre Greipel would like to make amends for that after riding through the entire race to get to the grand finale. The first time in 7 years of Grand Tour racing, a Grand Tour that he's been part of, he's failed to win a stage. So Greipel wants to reimpose himself, let's put it that way. He describes Marcel Kittel as the greatest sprinter on planet Earth at the moment. Well, let's see if that's the case today. Out to spoil the fun, Dimension Data are here towards the front. You can see they've got their aero helmets on as well, nice and smooth. Will it be at the end? Probably not, but Christian Spragley and Ryan Gibbons are their chosen sons. Dead centre in the yellow and black, working for Dylan Groenewegen, and there is that impressive Orica Scott train working for Magnus Cort Nielsen. The Aussies are today, and frankly they look ominous over on the right hand side of the road. Spearing up through the middle comes Plancart and Rick Zabel, guided I'm sure by Tony Martin on a goodly approach. Well, Biermans is doing some work, and Mads Wirtz Schmidt likewise for Katusha at the moment, centre of the road. 7.7 to go, 20 seconds. It doesn't look that much at the moment. We're on a little bit of a drag at the moment, Brian.
Yeah, 20 seconds now, just inside the last 7.5 kilometres now, and the peloton have got their prey inside, so there's no real danger. They're riding just for road space. They're riding just to keep their team together. Still a way to go to start the full lead out at 7.5 kilometres, so they want to be there. And that's why they're riding pretty much across the road. But you can just see the face of Laurens de Vries here. He's given it absolute everything, as you would, been in the breakaway all day and kind of trying to hang on. But it's going to be to no avail, because the sprinters are going to have their day.
Well, he's got a decent sprint on him himself in days to come, which means he's likely to keep himself up towards the 4. No idea how much effort. How much his efforts today are going to be a big cost. There's the only turn, essentially. That's at 6.7, I thought it was, kilometres from home. So it's more or less straight, with a couple of straightish roundabouts to contend with. By that I mean that they'll just be going straight over them, essentially. So here comes the pack, funneled left and right hand side of the road. Right the busiest, left the freest but the longest distance. So take your pick. 15 seconds it's down to at the moment. Yeah, De Vries was actually runner-up in the Paris Tour a few years ago when he burst into our consciousness as a youngster. He was only 21 when he did that. And so, yeah, I think sort of time running out for greatness for him. But he's in the breakaway today. He's picked up bonus seconds, as you've seen, in the Golden Kilo. In fact, he's got 6 to his name for that, possibly a few more, actually, once you add them add up.
9.
There we are, 9. Thank you very much. Brian's on it. So, yeah, good for him. He'll be well placed for the time trial tomorrow, and he's not a bad time trialist either. 6.1 kilometres to go, 13 seconds then. The break looks doomed. And finally, Lotto Soudal put their nose in the wind. Marcel Seberg, Nico Mees, Jesper de Boist, now on principal duties, of course, working for Andre Greipel. So, can Andre do the job today? You can see him just maintaining his position rather nicely with the teammates racked around him. He does tend to lose them on the approach. Let's hope it doesn't do so today. Groenewegen's gold and black Men as well, waspish dead centre, hoping to sting all of those around them. Jempe Drucker for BMC in the black and red. Edward Tuns for Trek Segafredo. Arnaud Demar's gone quiet for Francis de Jure, but they're starting to muster on the left-hand side of the road. So right as you look at it, behind that flaring light of the motorcycle, as they come into the dappled sunshine of this arboreal cover here. The trees offering up a bit of shelter, but it's going to be spotlight time for everybody. And Phil Bauhaus's men have speared up the centre here. Team Sunweb not to be outdone. And Tom Dumoulin, who's thinking about the entire race here. Well, why not? Soren Kragh Andersen, the big Dane as well, can help out Phil Bauhaus on his ambitions. Took a stage on the Dauphiné. Why not?
Yeah, exactly. He surprised a lot of people there and surprised a lot of good sprinters. But these 4 riders kind of hanging on to a very slender advantage. 5 kilometres to go, and all the teams vying for the front of the field now.
A square of trees that have been harvested here, allowing a little bit of bright sunshine as they come back into the long shadows, already long. Despite the fact that we're over the solstice, are we not? The days are starting to shorten, and indeed so today. 4.6 kilometres only, and those who I think are going to be principals at the end of today are already where they need to be. Arnaud Demar looks a bit locked in at the moment, and it's not much is going to change on the approach. It's hard to move up, Brian, when there's no road space to play with.
You can't move up, and that's why they're doing it. They're in position, but they're trying to kind of mob the road. So the only thing you can do if you're out of position is not panic. Just stay there, because I think with about 3 kilometres to go, a team will start to accelerate. When they start to accelerate, gaps open up, but then you're going to have to have your team to move you up. But at the moment, nobody's reacting. Everybody's kind of blocked in. You can just see Demar right in the kind of middle, about 7 rows back now. Nowhere to move until they start racing full gas in the front. Then there's not a lot you can do.
Fantastic moment there. There's a conversation going on, and Demar was basically asking Marc Serrault, what the hell are you doing? Get up there. And he put his arm out front in a very sort of Gallic way and said, look, where do you want me to go then? So they're arguing at Francis de Jure. That doesn't bode well. Mind you, adrenaline is a strange thing, and anger can generate that. So let's see whether the Arnaud Demar and the French tricolor will come to the front. But arguments, Brian, because their lead-out train is basically in bits at the moment.
Yeah, that's what you're waiting for. You have to be in position maybe 20 kilometres out and just sit there quite patiently. But what they're hoping now, fingers crossed for Française de Jure, they start to up the tempo. You just see it starting to increase the pace. On the right hand side, Trek have started it, and on the left hand side you've got the red of Lotto Soudal, and now the pace is starting to increase. It will start to kind of spearhead the front of the peloton, and when that starts to spearhead a little bit more, gaps will start to appear, and gaps that Française de Jure will have to try and come through now.
Well, they're trying their level best to move into those positions, and Francis de Jure, it's Mathieu Ledegnaud who's first battering ram call for them. Andre Greipel's men in the red and white on the right hand side of your screen. On the left hand side of your screen it's Trek working for Edward Tuns, who is a decent time trialist and a good classics man. I think possibly one of the sort of outside favourites for the entire race itself. There you are, that's Battle Plans writ early, and it's opened up dead centre, as you can see, and it's Sunweb that are going to try and come through. That's Phil Bauhaus, who's only got Mike Teunissen as his lead-out man. Maybe he doesn't want any more than that. Teunissen just gets to the fore and opens up some space here, and straight into that gap go Team Katusha with Plancart and Rick Zabel not that far off the nose right now. Bora with their with that rather familiar aquamarine, if you like, with the world champion Peter Sagan just lurking. He's P3 back from that. I expect to see the rainbow jersey up towards the fore. I think when it gets rough, Peter Sagan is always an option. He's my pick for the day. Where is Marcel Kittel? He's out of position at the moment. P3, look at him, there he is, centre of your screen right now, and where are his teammates around him? He's only got 1,800 metres to go. It doesn't look like Kittel's going to have some fun today. It's going to get brutal. 1,700 metres to go then. We could do with a longer shot on the approach here. Good work as well by Cannondale, working extraordinarily well. I see that Sepp van Mark's in a good position. Should things get a bit sketchy, UAE also getting involved. 1,500 metres to go. We're nearly there, Brian.
Yeah, the easiest thing to do is to pick a side of the road and keep your train there, because everybody's trying to come through the middle. So you can just see Lotto Soudal on the left-hand side. They're starting to move over. They're trying to fight for the side of the road now through this roundabout.
There we go. Last roundabout out and done and dealt with. And that was good work, good bullying work by Lotto Soudal. They're in a great place. Bora just behind them. Orica, they'd set their stall out very, very early. It's alarm bells for everybody else. And this is a long, long grab, I'm afraid, by Dylan Groenewegen. He's out of position as they go under the Flamme Rouge. He's in the wrong place right now. There it is. So 900 metres, it says, as BinckBank write their name large. Somebody today is going to be on the top step, but we don't know who, with 0.8 of a kilometre, 800 metres, 700 metres right now, and we're already up to speed.
Yeah, you can just see it further down out of position. You can see the blue jerseys coming up, Kittel coming up very, very late. But is it going to be too late? Because so many riders, including the world champion, are in good position. Trek
Segafredo in a superb position as well. The world champion Peter Sagan is in a handy place right now. Phil Bauhaus is also there. It's got messy. There's been a little bit of elbow work down there. Can't quite see, but here we can right now. So Sagan, where's he going to go? Kittel's absolutely nowhere. In the mix here as well is Wipper and Ersburg. There they are in the green. Groenewegen's trying to find space, can't find any. Plankart's there for Team Katusha. It's an absolute mess. Here's the kink in the road, and Bauhaus picks it up and goes centre stage. Bauhaus down the line, but Sagan's next to him. Bauhaus versus Sagan. Who's going to get there first? Oh, you know what? I think it's the world champion.
I think it's a photo finish. None
Certainly
of them put their hand
that.
up, reacted to it. They're still looking.
Wow, Bauhaus, great finish by him. Groenewegen too late to the party. Peter Sagan, I think, got that, the world champion. That's where the camera's staying right now. What a sprint finish that turned out to be. It was brutal. Some big names found themselves out of position and out of contention.
Yeah, it was a really messy sprint in the end. Many of the top sprinters were absolutely missing in action, but here we're seeing it from the side. A very close one between the world champion and the far side, and Phil Bauhaus, the German rider for Sunweb, and it looks
cool.
Like...
Oh, well,
who knows?
There's a switch over at the line. That was absolutely remarkable, Brian.
Magnus Kort and then Groenewegen.
Wow, what a finish.
It looks like Toynes is up there.
Well, we'll wait for official confirmation. By the look of that, it could be either of them. Certainly the fastest finisher was Phil Bauhaus. But let's have a look from above right now. Peter Sagan, left-hand side of your screen at the moment, still just not fully committing himself until now. It was Jesper de Boyce that found himself off and alone up front. Here goes Sagan with Bauhaus on his case. Bauhaus goes centre, crown of the road. Sagan on the left-hand side. It's between those two, and at the line, I think Bauhaus on the lunge, you're right.
Bauhaus.
Nobody wanted to claim it, and Sagan thought about offering up a handshake there, and then thought thought better of it. Cameron's with him, but he's shaking the head. I think it's Bauhaus.
Yeah, but it's all in the lunge. We've seen this before. We've seen this in a tour. He got it. It's all in the lunge.
Well, you know, I should have stuck with my instincts, Brian. Why do I listen to you all the time? Peter Sagan, then, it is that takes this stage. This is a man who is out there, and he's got a bit of grit about him at the moment, hasn't he, Brian?
That was so close. It was doubtful. How many photo finishes have we seen these days? But it's all in the lunge. We could see that even in the tour. It's where you throw the bike.
Gosh,
that was a big obviously
lap.
Bauhaus just got it fractionally wrong.
I don't know where the big fella finished, but
he was well out of it. He was out of position. I think he sat up. You can see him in the running sitting up, and he was in about 20th position.
What a day, what a finish. Bauhaus just pipped out the line. Peter Sagan went long and handsome. World champion, riding like one. Good start.
Yeah, nice start. Messy sprint though, all about being patient and in the right place.
Peter Sagan takes it ahead of Phil Bauhaus, Magnus Kort Nielsen. Dylan Groenewegen got up for 4th place ahead of Danny van Poppel, Rick Zabel. Greipel, of all the principals we named, best of them, I guess you might say, no disrespect to Groenewegen. Greipel finishing 9th. Demar out of position, started arguing with his own team, seen that before. And indeed, Quick Step Floors did so much work, but Marcel Kittel found himself isolated again. Super drama at the end here in our run into Venray. Tomorrow we're at Voorburg. 9 kilometres of time trialling to be taken on. And we'll see. Marcel Kittel found himself in an uncomfortable place there, Brian, but he wasn't alone amongst the big names.
Yeah, he was just. I was just tracking him there. He's in about 30th position at that point. But when they're going full gas at the front, very difficult. You're sprinting now, and you still got to sprint at the end. You see some of the blue jerseys looking behind. Where are you? See Pyrrhus again, nipping round the Lotto rider on that roundabout, just chopping in front of him. To get onto his lead-out train, decides to let another Lotto rider in front of him, decides to sit up and let his teammates, his lead-out man, try and go for it in a sneaky one. But I think it was Cannondale, it was wise to this one with Orica Scots. And Sagan just started his sprint now. He was tracked all the way by Bauhaus. Unfortunately for the Lotto rider, couldn't hang on here, but Bauhaus done a very good sprint here. And looking from the head on, when he threw his bike at the line, you could think, coming. He was slightly in front, but it's that throw that Sagan's done so many times that won it by how much? One thousandths of a second.
You gotta love it.